So in the previous session, we have already discussed about the hypothesis test. What is the importance of normal distribution in a hypothesis test? How to formulate a hypothesis and how to avoid the type 2 and type 2 error in a hypothesis test. And also we have done one sample t-test. Now moving forward, so one sample t-test we do when we want to check whether our sample mean and population mean are same or different, or if you want to check whether our sample is the true representative of the population or not. Many of the uh, researchers, statisticians are of the opinion that if sample size is more than 30, then you should not do one sample t-test, rather you should perform z-test. However, it's a matter of debate, and those concepts were all very old concepts and they have been nullified. So those who are reading or who have read the books which are too old might be suggesting that do not conduct one sample t-test if your sample size is more than 30, but that is the old school of thought. In recent literatures, you won't find such things. Now, second situation is always remember that decision tree that I have told you earlier, that let's say you have one dependent variable and one independent variable, where dependent variable is continuous in nature or metric and independent variable is categorical. Now what to do in such case? So we have to see. Now I'll share that decision tree. So is it visible? Is my,
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
if you have
Yes, sir.
only one sample, then you will perform one sample t-test. But what if you have two samples? Here two samples means your independent variable is coming from two groups, or your independent variable is divided into two groups. These groups might come from the same population or from two different populations. If they come from two different populations, means two different populations having different characteristics, means which are mutually exclusive or independent of each other, means the characteristic of group 1 or population 1 is not as same as the characteristics of population 2 or group 2. This situation we call as mutually exclusive groups, means they are not dependent on each other, they are independent among each other. This makes the case of independent samples. Now if you find such things, then you go for checking whether the independent samples that you have taken, the outcome variable is categorical or metric. If outcome variable is categorical, then directly move on to the non-parametric test of independent samples, that is Mann-Whitney test. If it is metric, then of course there are chances that it could be normally distributed. So check for the normal distribution. Yesterday I have told you how to check for normal distribution. Then check for homogeneity of variances or homoscedasticity, because these are two different groups. So you have to check whether the variance, that is the effect happening in these two groups, are same or different. So this is, if you see this situation, this is the homogeneity of variance situation. Homogeneity of variances says, or it is also known as homoscedasticity, that the variance that is the change happening in both the groups, in both the populations, is same or different. Like you see in the case of population 1, the variance that is happening, and if you see the case of population 2, the variance that is happening. In population 1, the level of variance is not much as compared to population 2, though it is steep. But if you see, it is ranging somewhere from -3 to +3. Here it is ranging from -6 to +6. Means variances are not equal. So let's say if you are trying to assume a situation where I am trying to know what is the effect of my class on understanding of the students, where students are divided into male and female. Or let's not take the example of male and female. Students' understanding of statistics after my class. Now, this class that I'm giving to them is treatment. What is its effect on a first year students? Or let's say a student from mathematical background and a student from non-mathematical background. So I have taught these students, I have divided them into two groups, mathematics background, non-mathematics background, mutually exclusive of each other, coming from two different populations. And I want to test whether there is a significant difference in the mean of their understanding or not. If this is the case, then first thing that should be there is that when I'm teaching them, I should teach both of them the same concept. First thing, the treatment should be equal. Second thing, change should happen. Let's say if their mean score was on a scale of 10, of understanding was 6 for both. And now in one case, let's say non-mathematics background, it is becoming 7. And in mathematics background, it is coming to be 9. Then we can say after checking that there is just a significant difference or not. But first we have to see treatment that I am giving, whether it is bringing the change or not. If it is not bringing change in any of one of the groups or very small change, then that is not the case of homogeneity. So variance means change of values, the change that is happening due to a treatment, and homogeneity means that change should be homogeneous, means that change should happen in both the groups. Because this is very important for independent t-test, and this should have to be followed. But in some situations, let's say data is metric, it is following normal distribution, but it is violating this assumption, Levin's test of homogeneity of variance. Still, you want to do independent t-test, you can do it, but your outcome will be you will report differently. That I'll show you in what case it will happen. So first thing, normal distribution, you know how to check. Check for Levin's test of homogeneity of variance. How to check it? Is the concept of homogeneity of variance or homoscedasticity clear? Is this concept clear?
Yes, sir.
So homoscedasticity or homogeneity of variance is same. So for that, I want you to open a file which I've shared with you. There is an Excel file. From here, select Excel. Levin test 1.xlx. Please open this file. Okay. So if you see this data, previously when we tested normality, we have taken the serum protein in picogram per ml. Now I am testing the serum protein between males and females. And I want to see that after a particular treatment, let's say after giving a particular medication, whether there is a change happening in serum protein or not, and whether this change is happening in both males and females. Here, one stands for male and two stands for female. I've divided them into two groups. I want to see first thing that after the, let's say after giving a treatment or a medication, whether the serum protein is changing between both males and females. If it is bringing the change, there is homogeneity of variance. If it is not bringing change in any one of the groups, there won't be any homogeneity of variances. So to test that, it is tested by Levin's test of homogeneity of variance. So you can go to analyze and then again go to compare means. This Levin's test is, you will find under one-way ANOVA. So click on that, select your dependent list. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Select this factor because categorical variables are treated as factors. Here in factors, now select options. Are you getting this homogeneity of variance test? Click this, continue. Okay. So this is the table that will tell you about Levin's test of homogeneity of variances. Can anyone, one of you interpret it? Whether there is a homogeneity of variance or not? What should be our null hypothesis? We are testing assumption. So in case of assumption, what should be our null hypothesis? We follow that the assumption is true. So in our case, we are saying that null hypothesis is equal variances assumed. And alternate is equal variances not assumed. So which of the condition is satisfied in our case?
Sir, equal variance is assumed. Null hypothesis accepted.
Accepted. And already I have told for testing the assumptions, the p-value should be greater than 0.05. That's how your null hypothesis will be accepted. So equal variances assumed. So there is a homoscedasticity or equal variances are there. So this is how we check the homogeneity of variance. Now moving on to the independent t-test. So this test, as I told you, compare the means of two independent groups, means two mutually exclusive groups, means groups coming from two different populations having two different characteristics. So this test is used to compare the means of two independent groups in order to determine that whether there is a statistical evidence that the associated population means are significantly different or not. So in one sample t-test, we only tested sample mean against the population mean. Here our sample is coming from two different population, and now we are trying to measure whether on a particular parameter, whatever we want, on that parameter, whether the group means or population means are significantly different or they are the same. And this is the parametric test? It means it requires data to be normally distributed. It has different names also. So independent t-test, independent measure t-test, independent two sample t-test, student t-test, two sample t-test, unrelated score t-test, unpaired t-test, unrelated t-test. It has many synonyms. The variable used in this test are known as dependent variable or test variable. And one is the independent variable, which is divided into groups. So it is also known as the grouping variable. The common uses of this test. So this test is commonly used to test the statistical difference between the means of two groups. It is also used to measure statistical difference between means of two interventions. Interventions means treatment in an experimental setup. And it also used to measure the statistical difference between the means of two change scores. Now you should note that the independent sample t-test can only compare the means for two groups. It cannot make comparisons among more than two groups. If you have more than two groups, then you have to move on to analysis of variance, which is the extension of this independent t-test. So as of now, we are focusing on independent t-test. That we have one dependent variable taken on a continuous scale, one independent variable which is categorical in nature, and it consists of only two categories, and we want to check that whether the outcome variable or the dependent variable, their mean score is same between both the groups or both the categories, or it is different. So like person from finance, they can use this test to analyze the stock performance of two companies. From medical science, they can use to analyze the effect of two different drugs given for a particular treatment. From humanities, literatures, arts, all these people can use to understand people's perception. Let's say if you are doing some social science studies, what is the, you can say, perception of males and females towards our PM, or what is the perception of business class and the business class people and the middle class people about the economy of India or on the taxation system of India. So like this, you can create different groups and you can understand whether there exists a significant difference or not. The data requirements for conducting independent t-test, if you see the decision tree, that dependent variable should be continuous, that is taken on interval or ratio scale. Independent variable is categorical, it should be only two groups as of now. Here is more groups means for ANOVA, right? So only restricted to two groups. And cases should have values on both the dependent and independent variables. That means that the observations that you have taken, you should take on both the dependent and the independent. Means the number of observations taken on dependent variable and independent variable should be same. It cannot be different. There should be independence of observations. Means every single observation should be independent of each other. Means let's say you have a sample of 100, you cannot do like that. You have taken responses from 10 people and then you assume that the rest 90 will be having the same kind of responses. No, every 100, if 100 people are there, you have to take observation from all 100. Means there should be independence of observations. And there should be no relationship between the subjects in each sample. Means your categories should be mutually exclusive of each other. They should not have any relationship. Okay. That is, the subjects in first group cannot also be in second group. You cannot mix. Suppose if you are taking perception of middle class and lower income group about the taxation system. So you cannot mix them. That few people from the lower middle class will go to the middle class. Or if you are trying to test male and females attitude towards a particular fragrance or towards a particular color, you cannot mix. The group should be equal. No subject in either group can influence subject in other groups. Here, when I'm using the word subject, I mean your participants or your respondents. And no group can influence the other group. So there should be independence of observation. Because if these things are violated, then it will lead to an inaccurate p-value. And you might end up in doing either type 1 error or type 2 error. Data should be taken randomly from the population. Randomization I have already told. There should be normal distribution of dependent variable. That is the outcome because your independent variable is already categorical. If it is categorical, then no need to test for its own what you say normality. You have to check the normality of the dependent variable because it is taken on the ratio or interval scale, or you can say continuous or metric measurement. There should be homogeneity of variances, no outliers. The hypothesis that we frame is the null hypothesis says that mu1 is equal to mu2, which means that there exists no significant difference between the two population means, or the two populations means are equal. An alternate says there exists a significant difference between the two population means mu1 is not equal to mu2. The two population means are not equal. Or if you want to write it in another way, mu1 minus mu2 is equal to 0, because if mu1 is equal to mu2, if there is no difference, then mu1 minus mu2 is equal to 0. That is the difference between two population means is equal to 0. And mu1 minus mu2, if they are different, then their difference will not be equal to 0. You can write it this way also. You might have found in many literatures which write in this way. And in this case, mu1 and mu2 are the population means for group 1 and group 2 coming from two different populations. This is one hypothesis that you will frame for testing the whether the population means are equal or not from both the groups. Second hypothesis also you will frame for homogeneity of variances. And that is, you can write like sigma 1 square minus sigma 2 square, where sigma is nothing but standard deviation. Standard deviation is you can say it's the since sigma square is the variance, so standard deviation sigma will be the square root of this variance. And this standard deviation is nothing but deviation of each observation from the mean value. Let's say you have taken 100 observations and the mean value is coming to be 3.5. But all values, all observations will not be 3.5. Some will be 4, some will be 2, some will be 3, some will be 3.5. So how much they are deviating from the mean value? That is the standard deviation. A square of this standard deviation is known as the variance, denoted by sigma square. So sigma 1 square is not equal to sigma 2 square. Means, sorry, sigma 1 square is equal to sigma 2 square. That means equal variances are there in the population. Or you can write it otherwise, that sigma 1 square minus sigma 2 square is equal to 0. If they are equal, their difference will be 0. An alternative you can write like sigma 1 square minus sigma 2 square is not equal to 0, means they are difference, they are not equal variances, because sigma 1 square and sigma 2 square have difference in them. So the difference, since they are different values, so their difference will not be equal to 0. That means there is no equal variances. Is this clear to your point?
Yes, sir.
Fine. Anybody who is not clear on this, because when you are testing independent t-test, you have to formulate two hypotheses, one for independent t-test, another for Levin's test of homogeneity of variance. Should I move forward? Should I move forward? Next.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So data, already I said that your data should include two variables that will be used in the analysis. The independent variable should be categorical, should have exactly not more than two groups. And the dependent variable should be continuous. Okay. Now let's see the problem statement. I have already given you the sample data set.sav. First, let me open that data set for you, and you also open, then you will understand. Sample data set.
So one question.
Yes.
Sir, if I am working on two group like public sector bank and private sector bank, but in public sector bank we have selected four bank and private we have selected four bank. So that
Mhm.
in that case we can use which kind of test?
See, if you are comparing all public sector with with this private sector banks,
Yeah.
okay, then you are having only two categories.
Okay.
So this will make it a case of independent t-test.
Okay.
Okay. When you are
Okay.
comparing all those four banks with all these four banks, then
Hmm.
it will, you are having four categories. It will make it a case of ANOVA. So as
Okay.
of now, you are trying to see what I could understand what you are trying to say. You have taken four public banks, you have taken four private banks,
Yeah.
and their employees, let's say, or their consumers.
Yeah.
Okay. So they are all consumers from the four banks are representing public banks only, and all consumers from the private four banks are representing private banks only.
Yes.
So totally, if you see, you are having only two population groups, private and public.
Okay.
So this is the case of independent t-test. Okay.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Now let's see our problem statement. In the sample data set, students reported their typical time to run 1 mile distance and whether or not they were an athlete. To see this data, this mile minute duration tells you about the time taken by the students to run 1 mile distance. And this category athlete, 0 means non-athlete, 1 means athlete. Whether they are athlete or not, and this time taken to run 1 mile distance. So time taken in to run 1 mile distance, is it a ratio or interval?
Sir, it is a ratio.
So time taken to run 1 mile distance,
So
these
it's an
will be
interval.
these will
Okay.
be, sir, these will be intervals, sir, not ratio.
Okay.
Because you are measuring on a, let's say, stopwatch. So equal distances are maintained, right? So it is interval scale. Means
Okay.
it is
Okay.
continuous but interval in nature. It is a continuous variable. This athlete is a categorical variable divided into two categories, whether they are athlete or non-athletes. And we want to test that whether athletes and non-athletes took same time to run 1 mile distance or they took different time to run 1 mile distance. So this is the case that we have a outcome variable, dependent variable, that is time taken to run 1 mile distance, taken on an interval scale which is continuous, and we have this athlete versus non-athlete two groups, and we want to see whether they took same time or there is a difference in their mean scores. So our hypothesis will be mu non-athlete minus mu athlete is equal to 0. Means there exists no significant difference between time taken by the athletes and non-athletes. Or you can also write mu non-athlete is equal to mu athlete. An alternate will be mu non-athlete is not equal to mu athlete, means there exists a significant difference between the time taken by them, both the categories to run 1 mile distance. Or you can write like mu non-athlete minus mu athlete is not equal to 0, because if they are different, then of course their difference won't be equal to 0. So there here mu athlete and mu non-athlete are the population means for athletes and non-athletes. This is the first. This is one of the hypothesis. Another hypothesis will be sigma 1 square is not equal to sigma 2 is equal to sigma 2 square. That is for variance, and sigma and alternate will be sigma 1 square is not equal to sigma 2 square. Means in first case equal variances assumed, and in second case equal variances not assumed. That is very important for independent t-test. So first let us test for Levin's test of homogeneity of variance, because that will only decide that what we are going to report. So analyze, compare means here you will, because that is that homogeneity of variance test is under one way ANOVA. So click one way ANOVA. What is our dependent list? What will be our dependent variable?
So mile.
This one, mile minute duration.
Yeah.
Right? And this is category is factor. Options, homogeneity of variance test. Continue. Okay. Can you tell me, is there homogeneity of variance or not?
No, sir, it is significant.
So there is no homogeneity of variance.
No.
Means equal variance is not assumed.
Yes, sir.
So from here, either you can move on to the non-parametric equivalent, that is Mann-Whitney test, or if you want to do all other assumptions are met, then you can do independent t-test, provided it will give you two values. How? Let's do the independent t-test, then I'll tell you. Analyze, compare means, and take independent sample t-test. Here, take the mile minute duration and test variable and athlete in grouping variable. And here you have to define groups. How many groups we had?
2.
They were identified by
0
and 1. 0 and 1. Continue. Okay. Now see, you are getting two values, equal variances assumed and equal variances not assumed. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So which one we will report if we have conducted independent t-test?
Sir, equal variance is not assumed.
Because we are getting two t values, right? 2 degrees of freedom, 2 significances.
Yes, sir.
So equal variances not assumed. So what we from the dependent, first you will report on the homogeneity of variance test. We found e value e, or you can simply write like this, on p less than 0.05. So the variances in both the groups is into S T L, or leave it, simply you write. If you have written this, it's very well understood. If you give this table, people will very well understand. Afterwards, you can write. So on the dependent test, it is evident that value of t, what is the degree of freedom in this case?
315.84.
So the degree of freedom cannot be in decimals, right? So you have to write it 316, right? Is equal to,
It's
what is the
15.04.
0.047. At this, the value of p is less than
0.05.
0.05. So null hypothesis is rejected, and we can conclude that there exists a significant difference between the athletes and non-athletes to run on mile distance. Clear? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
But we won't stop our interpretation till here. We have to move one step forward. You have to report the mean time taken by the athletes was, see, one more table, mean table. Sorry. This table is here. This table, what does it show? What is the mean time taken by athletes to run 1 mile distance? See, 0 stands for non-athletes, 1 stands for athletes. So mean time taken by athletes was?
So 0.06.
It's 6 minutes and 51 seconds, right?
Yes, sir.
6 minutes and 51 seconds. While the time taken by non-athletes was found to be 9 minutes and 6 seconds. 06. And there is a mean difference. You have to elaborate your output as much as you can. So there is a mean difference of, what is the mean difference? That it is given, isn't it? Here it is given
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
of 2 minutes and 15 seconds, right? So we can say that non-athletes 2 minutes 15 seconds more than athletes. Clear this interpretation?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
If equal variances have been assumed, then we should have reported this t value. Now we are reporting this t value. And why we are reporting this? In the starting only, we have told that from the homogeneity of variance test, we found that the variance in both the groups is not equal. Means no equal variances assumed. That's why we reported this result. So this is all about independent t-test.
Sir,
Yes.
how do we report the table?
Miss, I'm not getting you.
How do we draw the table, t-test table in the result section?
Miss, you want to put this table in your Word document?
Yeah, yeah.
So simply you have to copy this and paste in Word. From SPSS, you can simply copy any table and paste it. Now here you feel one problem. I'll show you. Let MS Word open, then I'll show you. Now this table, automatically it has taken the landscape. If it is not taking, then you can do one thing. If it is not adjusting on your page, you can click on this, right click, and click on edit content in viewer. Are you getting this?
Yes, sir.
In viewer, or in a, let's say, leave it here. You can simply double click on it. It will open in a separate window. Go to this pivot option and transpose rows and columns. Now it will fit to your page.
Yes.
All values you have got like this. The moment you will close it, it will become like this. Simply copy this table. If you are finding some table not fitting to your page, simply double click it, or you can choose this option, edit content in separate window. Here go to pivot, transpose rows and columns. Now it is in the previous stage. Now if I have to change this to fit to my page, I'll simply click it or go to edit content, or if you double click it here only, it will open in a separate window. Go to pivot, transpose rows and columns, close. It is here. Simply copy it, paste it in MS Word. This will come to the page. And from here you can report the results. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Fine. Now moving on to, because these are two sample tests. So one test is if the population is mutually exclusive. Coming from two populations where population is mutually exclusive, then it will be the case of independent t-test. What if you are trying to test the same population under two different situations? If population is not same, sorry, population is same, means the groups, they are divided into two groups, not by the virtue of having different characteristics, by the virtue of two different situations, like pre and post. Or let's say a reading score of a student and writing score of a student, two different situations you want to compare. Then in that case, these samples will be dependent samples. Why? Because they are coming from the same population, to the same person, to the same set of people. I am trying to know whether there is a significant difference between their writing skills and reading skills or not. Or to the same population, let's say you are my population, you all people, and I want to measure that before the start of this workshop, your understanding about the statistics, and at the end of this workshop, your understanding about the statistics. People will remain the same, the population will remain the same, only two different situations or two different conditions. Then this will be dependent sample. Again, if the outcome variable is categorical, like take a test after this 7 days workshop. Out of 100, I give you the whatever marks you have got. It will be a metric data. If I categorize you as fast learners and slow learners, it will be a categorical data. So if it is a categorical data, no point in testing its normal distribution. Simply move on to the non-parametric equivalent of paired t-test, which is Wilcoxon test. If the outcome variable which I am trying to measure is a metric data that is taken on an interval or ratio scale, then of course we will check for its normal distribution. If it is not normally distributed, we will move on to Wilcoxon test. If it is normally distributed, then we will move on to the paired t-test. Is this concept clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Paired is very much important for particularly for people who are doing some clinical study, or somebody was mentioning they are studying ADHD among school students. So after a particular treatment and before treatment, what is the difference in their ADHD levels? All these things you can measure. For this paired sample t-test is very useful. So this paired sample t-test compare two means from the same visual object or related units, means from the same population. And the two means can represent things like a measurement taken at two different times, like pre and post situation. I have told you, measurement taken under two different conditions, that is completing a test under a controlled condition and an experimental condition. Now you should know what is a controlled condition and what is an experimental condition. When we do any experimental study, it could be any cycle. Let's say I want to know your perception pertaining to a particular advertisement. So first I will show you that advertisement. If I'm not showing that advertisement, that is not an experimental situation. So whenever we do experimentation, we create two groups. One group is known as a experimental group. Experimental group is that group to which the treatment is given, and control group is the group to whom the treatment is not given, the normal treatment is given. Okay, let's say I want to see the effect of 10 extra classes on the understanding of studies of my students. So for that, first I will put them into a controlled condition. First I will measure their understanding without giving extra classes. Then I will give some extra classes, that is the intervention or extra treatment that I am giving. Now they are into experimental condition and I will measure the mean values. So in that case, again, I have to take the mean differences through paired t-test. Measurements taken from two halves or sides of a or experimental unit. For example, measuring hear loss in subject means the person's left and right ears, whether they can listen properly, means whether there is a significant difference between their hearing from the right and the left ears or not. So in that case also you can use paired t-test. Whether there is a significant difference the writing speed of left hand versus your right hand. This could be a case of independent of paired t-test. So overall, the purpose of this test is to determine that whether there is a statistical evidence that the mean difference between the paired observations. Why we are calling it paired observation? Because the data is the same population. Observations are taken from the same population into two different situations or at two different times, or if divided into two halves, something like that. So this difference between pair observations on a particular outcome is significantly different from zero or not. Significantly different from zero means they are significantly different from each other or not. And this again paired sample t-test is a parametric test because the thumb rule or the assumption of normality has to be met in the outcome variable. The common uses of this paired sample t-test is to test the statistical difference between two time points, that is pre-post, statistical difference between two conditions, statistical difference between two different measurements, and statistical difference between a matched pair. The data requirements are that dependent variable should be continuous. All those things that applies to independent t-test applies to pair t-test also. So dependent variables is continuous, whereas independent variables are categorical but from the same population. That is the only difference. Means they should be related sample. Data is taken randomly from the population. Data is following normal distribution. There is no outliers. Okay. Now hypothesis will be same. Null hypothesis will be mu1 is equal to mu2. Alternate will be mu1 is not equal to mu2, or can say mu1 minus mu2 is equal to 0, or mu1 minus mu2 is not equal to 0, or you can say there exists no significant difference between the two means, or there exists a significant difference between the two means, where mu1 and mu2 are the population mean of variable 1 and variable 2, or group 1 and group 2. Here you can't say group 1, situation 1 and situation 2, or something variable, whatever you are measuring. Then your data should include two continuous numeric variables. One should be the paired variables or the situations, and another one should be the dependent variable. Now from the sample data set, let's take the problem. Sample data set has placement test scores out of 100 points for 4 subjects: English, reading, math, and writing. Let's say, if you see, this is the placement score of the students in English, reading, math, and writing. These are the scores. We want to determine whether English or higher test scores on average. Means we are comparing the English score and the math score of the students. Or you can measure the reading score and the writing score of the students. Let's forget about English and math. Let's take reading and writing. Whether the student proficient in reading, is he as proficient in writing also? Or there exists no significant difference. Means the scores are same or the scores are different. In our case, we have given the problem statement as their scores in English and math. Let's forget about it. Let's take reading and writing scores. So I want to know that the same student, whether his reading score is dependent, whether his writing score is dependent on reading score. Means if reading score is better, writing score also better. Or there exists a significant difference, or there exists no significant difference. This we want. Am I clear about this? Am I clear about the problem statement?
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Now two categories are being made based on two different parameters, reading and writing. But population is same. Means it's not mutually exclusive. So it will become the case of paired t-test. For that, you go to analyze, and then again compare means and paired simple t-test. Similarly, if you have many pairs, you can do many pairs. As of now, I am going to make one pair only. So what is our variable 1? A reading score?
Reading and writing, sir.
Reading and writing. This is our first pair we have made. In options, 95% confidence interval. Click on OK. So can you tell me what is the output? What is the p-value that we are getting?
We are getting higher p-value than 0.05. So we accept the higher.
Sir, it is 0.03.
Ma'am, how come 0.03 is greater than 0.05? It is less than 0.05.
Yes, sir, it is less than.
So we will reject the null hypothesis. So for this,
Okay, sir.
this is less than 0.05. No? So we will write like this on the paired test is that T at the degree of freedom, in degree of freedom here 394 equal to 5.563, at this P is less than 0.05. Actually, you have to see this one. This is the correlation. Even correlation is coming to be 10.5% and significant. You have to see this one, 0.000. P is less than 0.05. Okay. So null hypothesis is rejected, and we can conclude that exists a significant difference between the reading and writing scores of the students. The mean reading score was found to be 82. See this mean value, 32.06, while mean writing score was found to be 79.84, and the mean difference you have to calculate from here. Is it given? No. So the mean difference here, I think, yeah, this one. The mean difference was, let me take it, to be 32.06 minus 79.54. Yeah, 2.52. Same. Found to be 2.54. And this difference is significant. Difference is there, but it also makes sense that whether it is a significant difference or not. This difference is significant at 95% confidence interval. So overall, we can say that the reading score is not dependent on reading score. This is further justified by the peak correlation, which is coming 10.5%. So the overall interpretation of this output. So if you are writing only P is less than alpha, reject null hypothesis, it won't make sense. You have to interpret all these three tables. Is this interpretation clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we'll take 5 minutes break and then we can be back. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Today someone suggested me that you don't take breaks and also don't allow people to take breaks. So I'm allowing 5 minutes break.
ದೊಡ್ಡ ಮನಸ್ಸಿತ್ತು. ಆದ್ರೆ ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಉತ್ತಮ ಅಭಿನಯ ಕೊಟ್ರೆ, ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಪ್ರೀತಿಗೆ ಪಾತ್ರರಾದ್ರೆ ಮುಗಿತು. ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಒಂದು ಕಾಣಿಕೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಅಂತ ಹಲವು ತನಿಗಳು ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಟ ಸುದ್ದಿ ಅಲಿಯಾಸ್
Venkatesh sir, can you mute your
Hello? Yes, pa?
nothing, sir? We could hear your background.
Oh, I'll just mute. I'll just mute.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
So shall we resume the session?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we have seen the case that if we have two samples, whether dependent or independent, then how to treat them statistically. Now a question comes that if the groups are more than two, then what to do? In that case, we perform a statistical computation, which is the extension of independent t-test and is known as ANOVA, one-way analysis of variance, or one-way ANOVA. This ANOVA is very similar to regression. Those who might have done regression might have found, when I'll be teaching regression, I'll be touching this concept again. They might have found one ANOVA table is made also. Can any one of you tell me what is the significance of that ANOVA table in the regression?
Sir, it helps us understand the difference between the groups.
So ANOVA basically tells you, it helps you understand the difference between the groups, where groups are three or more. But what is its usage in regression? And how it is similar to the regression or different from regression?
We cannot see your slide, sir.
I'm not sharing my slide as of now. I'm just asking one question, that those who have performed regression, in the regression process, you will get an ANOVA table. What is the use of ANOVA in regression? In regression, that ANOVA will tell you whether your model is fit or not. You might, those who are understanding this concept, fair enough. If not, they might always be thinking why this ANOVA table is made during the process of regression. I didn't make command for making ANOVA table. I ran the regression command, but why ANOVA is made? Because in the process of regression, ANOVA tells you whether your model is fit or not. Because ANOVA is based on nothing but least squares. The ANOVA is computed on the basis of least square. And you might have heard there in regression is also ordinary least square, partial least square, right? So there the ANOVA plays a role. Somewhere it is having similarity, or not all ANOVA. There are 5 kinds of, actually we call ANOVA as GLM models, general linear models. And regression is also a GLM model, generalized linear model, because it is based on the linear associations between the variables, the dependent and the independent variables. So basically we have 5 kinds of generalized linear models in univariate statistics. Now is my slide visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So GLM models, that is ANOVA, analysis of variance, which is also known as general linear model 1. We have ANCOVA, that is generalized linear model 2. We have factorial ANOVA, generalized linear model 3. Repeated measures ANOVA, generalized linear model 4. And mixed design generalized linear model 5. Like this, we have categorized generalized linear models. ANOVA, all these kinds of ANOVA are similar to regression, but very much similar to regression is factorial ANOVA, that is GLM3, GLM4, and GLM5. So today I'll be discussing only about ANOVA and ANCOVA. This factorial ANOVA, repeated measures ANOVA, mixed design ANOVA. Once we are done with regression, then only we can, because it won't be then easy to understand unless you understand regression. And if the time permits, fair enough, else I will share with you contents of it. So as of now, I'll be touching on the 2 generalized linear models, ANOVA and ANCOVA. Now, what is this ANOVA is? This one-way ANOVA is nothing but it is the extension of independent t-test. When you have 3 or more, till two groups, it's independent and mutually exclusive group. Remember this thing. If you have mutually exclusive group and these groups are only two, then independent. If you have more than two groups, means three or more than that, and it can be many groups, then you will go for or one-way analysis of variance. The null hypothesis in the ANOVA is that the several population which you have sampled, they have the same mean, means there exists no significant difference between the mean of the populations that you are having. It's same as the independent t-test, but rather than writing mu1 and mu2 only, you will write mu1. Let's say you have four groups, so mu1 is equal to mu2 is equal to mu3 is equal to mu4, or mu1 minus mu2 minus mu3 minus mu4 is equal to 0, means there is no significant difference between these four means of these four groups. Or you will write alternate as mu1 is not equal to mu2 is not equal to mu3 is not equal to mu4, means these means the group means are not equal, means there exists significant difference between the group means. The test statistic that you get till now, you are in the t statistic. In ANOVA, you will find the F ratio. This F ratio is actually known as Friedman's. It was given by a statistician known as Friedman. So it is known as the Friedman ratio. And it is the ratio of two variances. So when you, after conducting ANOVA, you come to know that there exists a significant difference between the means. Because ANOVA will tell you whether there exists a significant difference between your samples or not, your group means. If it says there exists no significant difference, stop there. If it says there exists a significant difference, then you have to further move on to the next step, which is known as the post hoc test, or it is also known as the posteriori method, to determine which of the group is different. It could be that all four, because ANOVA will tell only whether the groups are different or not. The group means are different or not. But post hoc analysis will tell you whether all four groups are different, whether only group 3 and group 1 is different, or whether group 2 and group 3 is different, means which of the group is different from which of the group. This will be, you will come to know from post hoc analysis. However, if ANOVA tells you there exists no significant difference, then there is no point in doing post hoc analysis, because if there is no significant difference among the groups, then between the groups, why you will be doing that? But if it is telling you that there exists a significant difference, then you have to go for the next step, which is known as post hoc method. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So the data requirement is that the dependent variable should be continuous, that is interval or ratio, as same as the independent t-test. Independent variable should be categorical. It should have more than two groups. So let's take our problem statement, but before that I want you to open the data set. So I have given you one data set known as glm1.sav. Is that data available with you? glm1.sav.
Yes, sir.
Please open this data. Now what this data is all about? In a class of 30 students, 10 students each, means we have created 3 groups, right? 10 students each were randomly assigned to 3 different methods of memorizing word list. In the first method, the student was instructed to repeat the word silently when it was presented. In the second method, the student was instructed to spell the backward, visualize the backward word, and to pronounce it silently. And the third method required the student to associate each word with a strong memory. Each student saw the same 10 words flashed on a computer screen for 5. First, remember, there were 30 students. 30 students. Okay. They were asked to memorize the words by 3 different methods. So you can say the first 10 are given only the first method. Then 11 to 20 were given the second method, and 21 to 30 were given the third method. So 3 groups. And what were those 3 methods? To see the word, pronounce it silently. Second method was to spell the word backwards and visualize the backward word and to pronounce it silently. And the third method was to associate each word with a memory, strong memory. And these words were flashed on a computer screen for 5 seconds. This list was repeated in random order until the word has been presented a total of 5 times. A week later, the students were asked to write down as many of the words as they could recall. So here we will try to find out that whether the recall of the words differs as per the methodology of memorizing the word. Means whether different types, the 3 types of memorizing word method given to 3 different set of students, are they able to write or memorize the same or recall the same level, or their level of recall is different? Are you getting the problem statement?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay. We will do this on sample data set also, but first let's do here. So these are the 30 participants, 3 groups, given 3 different methods of memorizing, and then their recall was scored, how many words they could recall, right? And we want to see different methods of memorizing words has any effect on recall or not. Means the recalling of words differs for the method of memorizing or not. This we want to know. So we have 3 different methods. So 3 groups. So this will make it a perfect case of ANOVA. So go to analyze. Compare means one-way ANOVA. Now here, the variables are recall and method. We are not focusing. So recall, here something has went wrong. I have to change it. Okay, measure is unknown. That's why. This has to be, method has to be nominal, categorical. This has to be scale and participant again, nominal. Now, analyze, compare means one-way ANOVA. So their recall score is dependent and method is factor divided into 3 groups. As of now, I'm not doing anything. There is something called contrast. This is known as a priori method, and post hoc is post priori method. A priori method is used when you are sure that there will be a difference. Already you have decided that 3 groups will differ. Then you will use the contrast method. Okay. Already you have identified. If you don't know, then post hoc. But first, let's do ANOVA. Okay. So, can you tell me what should I write in? What should I write in this case?
Sir, there is a significant difference between the groups.
So if
ANOVA is significant.
So if there is a significant difference, then we should go for the next step, that is the post hoc analysis.
Yes, sir.
Right? So you will go to the analyze. Compare means again one-way ANOVA. Post hoc, we use normally the Tukey method for post hoc in case of one-way ANOVA. So select Tukey, continue. Okay. Now What you are getting? Can anyone of you tell me?
So there is a significant difference between group 2 and 3, and that is negative.
Group 2 and 3. Don't go for the mean difference, okay?
Okay.
Only tell
Okay,
me
significant difference. Okay.
which group is different from which group.
All right. So method 1 and method 3 is significant.
Only group 2 and 3 are different.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes,
sir.
Method 2 and 3.
Yes, method 2 and 3 are different.
So here we will write. What we will write? From the ANOVA output, we get F. Now you have to report Friedman statistics. And you have 2 degrees of freedom. Right? 2 and 27. F at these degrees of freedom is equal to 18.315. 18.315 at this P is less than 0.05. So null hypothesis is rejected and it can be concluded that there is a significant difference between the students' all of words based on the methods. Each different method will have different effect, or there will be a significant difference between the students' recall of words based on the method. Since there exists a significant difference, so you will go for further exploration. We conducted post hoc test using Tukey method and found that only method 2 and 3 differ significantly in terms of students. If you want to write more, here you can say other groups 1 and 2 no significant difference. If you want to put your mean, because ANOVA is not giving you the mean, simply go to analyze and descriptive statistics. Descriptives, take all these 3 groups. Method recollocate will be happening here. Compare means dependent list will be recall and independent list will be method. Okay, and you can say that the mean value of group 1 is 0.1, 1.7, mean value of group 2 is 4.6, mean value of group 3 is 6.4. So you can say, you can see here the difference is there between 1 and 2, but it is not significant from this table. However, the difference between group 2 and 3 is though less, but it is significant. So you will report this, you can report this also. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So I do have a question.
Yes, sure.
So why was Tuki only, not Games Howell? Post hoc.
See, what I'm saying, you can use any of this method, but for one-way ANOVA, the most preferable method is Tukey only.
Okay.
When you have one-way ANOVA, when you have situation like this, then for this post hoc comparison, we use Tukey method. In other GLA models, we can use different other methods. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Is this clear? So this will tell you about which group is different from which group. Now coming to the GLM model 2, which is ANCOVA. Okay, I'll do this test for one more data set on sample data set. That will help you understand easily. So here my problem is sprint. Sprint time is again time taken to run a distance. The sprint time of these students we want to see based on the category of smoking. 0 stands for non-smokers, 1 stands for past smokers, and 2 stands for active or current smokers. If you see in the variable view, okay, it is not given. So here I'll tell you sprint time, okay, running time taken by non-smokers, non-smokers 0, past smokers 1, and current smokers 2. Whether the sprint time differs between these three groups or not. Are you getting the problem? These two variables are there.
Yes, sir.
So again, you can do the analysis. Compare means independent sample, one-way ANOVA. Here we will take sprint, and here we will take three groups, that is smoking. Okay. And if you see the output, ANOVA tells you that there exists a significant difference. F is coming to be 9.209 at degree of freedom 2 and 350. P is 0.000. So there exists a significant difference, means there exists a significant effect. You can also say significant effect of smoking status on sprint time. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, what is that difference? Analyze one-way ANOVA, post hoc. Since it's one-way ANOVA, so okay. Continue. Okay. See, non-smokers and past smokers, there exists a significant difference. Non-smokers and current smokers, no significant difference. Right?
Sir, non-smokers and current smokers have a significant difference, no? That is starring.
So that's what there is no significant difference between past smokers and current non-smokers. This is non-significant, na?
Yes, sir.
So there is no significant difference in this case. Past smokers and current smokers, there is a significant difference. Okay. Are you getting this?
Yes, sir.
So see the three tables differently. Let's compare only past smokers with non-smokers. No significant difference. We can say no significant difference between past smokers, non-smokers. Past smokers means those who quit after looking for a particular time. Past smokers are non-smokers in sprint. Significant. Now see the second is the same. You can only see this. So overall you will find here there is no significant difference. In. Now you're in. So, significant here between non-smokers, sorry, past smokers and current smokers, no significant difference. Difference. Between past smokers, group 1, current smokers. Only significant difference lies where? Between
No smokers and current smokers.
significant difference between non-smokers and smokers in his smokers. So ANOVA will only tell you whether there is a difference or not. This post hoc method will tell you whether there exists a significant difference or not, and between which of the groups there exists a significant difference. Is this clear?
Yes, sir. So one more thing, like
Yes.
the direction, like the negative sign which is given in mean differences. How do we interpret it?
You can say that when we compared 0 to 1, the mean difference was coming to this. You can just say simply how, from where it is coming, you can simply calculate. Take this sprint. Let's say 0 to 1. Okay. If you minus this value from this value, you will get exactly this value. Okay.
Okay, sir.
You can do a simple calculation. We are comparing group 0 to 1. So group 0 was, sorry, so if you minus 6.41149 minus this value 6.83533, you'll get the same value, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So when the mean values are minus, you need not to report this thing. You have to only say whether there exists a significant difference or not. If you want to report mean difference, you can report individually. That is a waste exercise. Only you have to tell whether there is a mean difference or not. If you want to stretch your interpretation, you can report all these things. Now coming to the GLA model 2, that is ANCOVA. This ANCOVA, nothing. In ANOVA, you are bringing in one covariates, an external variable which is affecting the relationship, and you want to control that variable. So this analysis of covariance is basically a blend of regression and analysis of variance, ANOVA and regression. That's why I said from after GLA model 1, all these types of GLA models follow some kind of regression. So this ANCOVA is a kind of regression mixed with analysis of variance. So in SPSS, there is no direct method. So we We use generalized linear model method in SPSS. And when I will be teaching you regression, actually there is a method of regression known as hierarchical regression. Okay. Through that also you can do this ANCOVA. So if you have a covariate and you want to do it's up to you whether you want to do the ANCOVA or you want to do the hierarchical regression. So this ANCOVA is statistically equivalent to matching experimental groups with respect to the variable or variable being controlled, the covariate that is affecting the relationship. You are controlling that variable, and it is known as covariates. So correlation I haven't told you, so you won't be able to understand this. Can you take up this after correlation and regression?
Yes, sir. That will be more meaningful to us.
That will be meaningful because other GLM models are based on regression and correlations. So for today, I am stopping.